Back at you with another episode coming at you from chooseyourrelationships.com, author of Love Can't Wait, which can be found on Amazon.com. And today I have a special guest. She's an Army operations Iraqi Freedom War veteran living with PTSD. She studied psychology and with a bachelor's degree in applied management with an emphasis in psychology. She's a certified life, love, and sex coach and published author of audiobooks and workbooks. My guest today is Kaci Shamonti. Welcome to the show.
It's Casey Shimon, but you could just call me Dr. Casey.
Oh, okay. My bad.
It's okay.
All right. All right. So where you from originally?
So originally I'm from Dayton, Ohio.
Okay. So how long have you been living in Atlanta?
I moved to Atlanta in 2004, but I've kind of lived in different places. I lived here, then I moved to Phoenix for a while. I lived in Orlando, and then I always end up back here. No place feels more like home than Atlanta.
Oh, so this is not your first time
No,
living there.
I've lived in Atlanta. This is my primary place that I've lived over
Okay.
the last 17 years. But I've lived other places. I just come back here
Okay. Gotcha. So, well, when did you get out? When did you get out the army?
in 2004. Like when I left the army and I PCS out, it was to here.
Oh, okay. I don't know a lot about the army. I think the army is very different from the navy. Uh, just listening to what how people talk. Yeah.
I think so. I think the Navy might be a little bit more lax in some areas. But the Navy is more like the Air Force. I was gonna go into the Navy, but I didn't want to go in the water for 6 months at a time. So that kind of, you
Oh
know what I'm
no,
saying, threw me out for a loop.
no, that's not true. no,
Oh, it's not.
no, that's not
Well,
true.
they got me because let me tell you, when I went to the recruiting station, they was like, if you go to the army, this how you gonna get promoted. Da, 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 da. And I was like, man, that sounds good. But the Navy, it was too many narratives that was like,
Yeah. See, the recruiters, they basically competing against each other.
mm-hmm,
So they'll say anything to try to deter you from going in the other branches. To be honest, a lot of recruiters, the Navy recruiters, they can't really tell you what's gonna happen when you go in. They
right.
can't tell you how long you're gonna be deployed. They really don't know, But if you're I'll say this, if you're stateside, um, sometimes they pull out 30 days, could be 2 months. And if they pull back in, if they stay out, say 2 months and pull back in, you might be in for 6 months, 6 to 8 months. And if you're like overseas, it might pull out 2 weeks and you might be in for 3 months. And one thing about being overseas is if they do 3 months, especially if you do Westpac is like Japan, Australia, Hawaii, Thailand, India, countries like that. If you pull out 3 months, you're guaranteed to be in for like 6 to 8 months, sometime 9 months. So
It threw me off.
yeah,
I
they
was
they
like, what? I got to go on a boat for up to 6 months. Like, oh my god, I don't think I want to do that. So I was like, the army it is, and I couldn't go to the Air Force because I had a GED. I was only 17 when I went, so like, it was an experience, but it was a great
all
one.
right. So your parents had to sign, right?
My mother had to sign. My dad wasn't really, well, he probably would have signed, but the narrative of my parental situation growing up is that my mother was kind of around, but she worked a lot and wanted to live her life. So I kind of was bounced around a lot or was on my own. And from my understanding, my dad didn't want to be bothered so much. So by the time I was going to the army was after my mother tried to kill me, and I was just kind of like in a place to where I didn't know what I was doing in my life. And although I was only 17, I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to, end up a statistic basically. So I wanted discipline, and somebody had mentioned the army to me. So yeah, my mother had to kind of say my dad abandoned me or something like that in the narrative in order for her to sign without my dad being present.
Okay.
But he was happy that I went though. He had went to the army, served in Vietnam and everything. So
Oh,
he
okay.
was proud of me. But if I would have known that I could have went and lived with my dad, I probably would not have joined the army.
Oh, okay. So that's one of the main reasons why you went in, because the situation with your mom.
Yeah, I was just on my own. Like I had okay, so I turned 16. I turned 17 probably like right after my 17th birthday. My mother literally tried to kill me, like banging my head on the concrete, strangling me until my eyes was rolling in the back of my head. But my friend was there, and a man jumped out of a car driving past and literally saved my life. So after that, I was kind of like living from place to place, just kind of out there because I didn't have anywhere to go. And that's how I ended up joining the army.
So this was in public.
Like we was out. Okay, so on this day I had to went to school, had to go to work. So in my needing to go to work, I had to go home. I was getting some clothes because I had on like a sheer shirt with a bubble coat. So it was like, let me go get some clothes because I worked in a jewelry store. And when I went there, my mother was asleep, but I could smell the alcohol or whatever. And she's like, I thought you passed your test at school. And I'm like, well, I thought I passed too. Like, what you want me to do? And she just start really going ballistic. Like, I can't believe you. You ain't shit. Just she
Yeah.
was not, I want to say she wasn't herself, but she hadn't been present enough in my life to really have that type of um control or ability, in my opinion. Like you got to
Right.
be present in order to be able to discipline me. So I was just like, okay, whatever, I got to go to work, I'll talk to you about it later. And instead of going back to sleep, she came downstairs behind me and, you ain't shit, bitch, this that, I mean, just crazy. And I was like, well, if I'm not shit, then you not shit. And that set her ass off and she attacked me. That was it. That was it. I mean, like she told my family, like I just went off on her for nothing. I was just fighting her, but she just lied her little tail off. Because she literally attacked me because I told her if I wasn't shit, I was a reflection of her.
Yeah,
So it
basically.
meant that she wasn't shit, and she didn't like that shit at all.
That set her off.
Yeah, it literally it
Yeah.
did. And so she attacked me, and I was like, I end up having her like in the headlock because I'm like, leave me alone. Like I'm not trying to fight you. I was known for fighting, so maybe she was aggressive
Yeah.
because she felt like, well, if she known for fighting, then she might try to. And I wasn't. I was just like, leave me alone. Like I'm trying to go on about my business. And we ended up getting on the ground, and she literally was hitting my head on the ground, and my friend put her foot up under my head and she swung at my friend like, bitch, I'll get you to, like, it was some real like, what is wrong with her? Like in the public, in front of like on the street, out in the front of the house. And some man was riding past when her hands was around my neck. And my friend said my eyes was rolling in the back of my head. And the man got out his car like, you don't do that to that girl. Get off of her. And literally put me in his car and rolled me around to the payphone to call the police. And I ain't never looked back since.
Damn. Yeah. So from that time, how long was it uh from that point, from that incident that happened, when did you go into the army?
Probably about 10 months later. So if that happened in like early part of December, then by September of the following year I joined the army.
Okay. So how was your experience in there?
I liked it. Basic training was a lot less hard than I expected.
Yeah.
In the movies and shit, they be making you think like they're gonna be and they would be, but you could tell it was just like, you is not even like that for real. Like you really nice while you trying to act hard like this.
Yeah.
And so it was an experience, like, but it was basic training. So I was telling my children, like, you know how on Squid Games they have them all out in that little open dirt field
Yeah.
thing. Like we used to have to do get up in a push up position in rocks. Like, so, like, when I
Oh,
see
for
that,
real?
like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like, now some of that
Yeah.
type, like, they used to do some, like, crazy little stuff like that. Like, we used to, I remember being in the push-up position for hours one day in, like, a rocky, like, gravel parking lot. It was crazy. But I think overall it made me very disciplined. I got what I went for. I went for discipline because I felt like I grew up with no guidance.
So where'd you do your boot camp at?
I was in Fort Jackson, and then that was where I did basic, and then for my career training I was in Virginia.
Oh yeah, I think everybody. Well, I'm from South Carolina, so everybody goes to Fort Jackson to do
Well,
their.
all quartermasters I know for sure. I don't know if they have other
Yeah,
MOSs that go there, but a
yeah,
lot of
they're
people
there.
do.
Everybody go there. I think Columbia is like the kind of like the hub. You know,
Probably
everyone
one
has
of
to
the
go through there.
largest.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So where'd you go after that?
I went to Virginia for the other training, and then after that, my first duty station was Korea.
What part of Korea?
I was in Wonju, Camp Eagle.
Oh, I didn't go there. I went to we stopped in Busan and I went to Seoul.
Yeah, we used to go to, so I was there for like a little bit over a year. If I would have known better, I would have stayed in Korea a whole lot longer
Yeah,
than I did. But at
man.
the time, I was so like, man, I want to go back home. I need to get home. And I came home and it was like not bad. After Korea, I was in Kansas, and Kansas was pretty cool. I liked Kansas. I don't like anywhere I am because I'm there. Like, I know how to enjoy myself wherever I go.
Yeah. So did you ever get homesick?
When I left Ohio, I never wanted to go home again. It wasn't nothing to be homesick for. My mama tried to kill me. Me and my dad wasn't close. I had a miscarriage like a couple of months before, so it was just
Oh,
like nothing really was like, oh, I just need to go back home. Like I always said, if I ever left, I was never ever going back. So now I didn't get homesick.
damn.
I mean, and at first I would go back home a lot. Like
Yeah.
I never stayed over my grandmother's house again. I don't think I ever, like, the people that did me wrong, I never ever spent the night or stayed with them ever again. I never messed with them the same. So I would go home and stay over friends' house. You know what I'm saying? Like just be, and then after a while I would go home and it'd be like, man, y'all still doing the same thing. Ain't
Oh
nothing
yeah.
changed. Like
No.
why am I even coming back? And I just stopped going more and more. It didn't seem like it was worth it. And then more people that I went to school with was passing away or going to jail. So now it's like, damn, who am I gonna go back and see? I hung with all the thugs, so all my thug friends is, like
Yeah.
going home isn't like going home and now I can see the gang because the gang ain't, ganging.
Yeah. So how did you move past that? You know, the incident with your mom. How do you, because most people. No, I'm not gonna say most people. A lot of people, they would be like, they would have crumbled. They start, yeah, they.
So my mother left me a lot. Like she abandoned me in Kentucky a couple of times before this. And I'm sure that all of these things play into, how I began to see our relationship as mother and daughter. So it wasn't like the first time that she had left me hanging. I was actually kind of used to the behavior at this point. So it wasn't like something to get over. I left. If you're not there to see it, then you don't have to think about it. So when I went to the army, well, let me back up. When it first happened, I started reading my Bible a lot. I was just kind of depressed, and I was in the house for a very, very long time. And then, but once I got over it, because my family was like, "Well, you was wrong," and da 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 da. And I remember going to see my aunt one day, and this is when everybody in my family was like, "We ain't fooling with her," and I remember telling her, like, she's like, the Bible says to honor your mother and father. And I'm like, the Bible also says that your mother and your father are not supposed to provoke you. And when I was going back and forth with scripture with them and I knew my scripture, they couldn't really, you know what I'm saying? So they was just kind of like, but they left me on the wayside. So when I left, it wasn't nothing to go back to. If I was going back, it was to see friends or people that helped me. Other than that, what was I going back to? So getting over it, I never. It took for until recently for me to kind of really get over it. Like I had forgave her. I would talk to her, be
Yeah.
like, whatever. Like, but I would call her bitches. Like I don't, not to her, but I don't respect her as a mother because she
Oh
hasn't
yeah.
been, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when people would be like, well, why don't you, man? Fuck that bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like she was trying to kill me. Like if a person try to kill you,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like figuratively speaking,
Yeah.
like literally tried to kill you, banging your head on the concrete, choking you into your eyes. Like
Oh,
I mean, you cool, all right, whatever, but it
it
was
ain't gonna be the way it's
never the
supposed to be.
same.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, because I mean, and even now I sometimes be like, I wish, like for a long time, I go through cycles where I think that she could be a better mother.
And you're
So I
optimistic.
be trying to hope, you know what I'm saying? I try
Yeah.
to get over shit, and then she always reminds me, no,
Yeah.
no, you can't expect much from her. So like, but when I went to Korea, 9/11 happened. So when I called her after the plane crash and the alerts and all of that, and she was like, well, you signed up for the army, and I was just like, bitch, like
Oh God.
I'm goddamn over here
Ugh.
about to die. You don't know if I'm gonna live, I'm gonna die, or what's gonna happen. 9/11 just happened, and she's like, well, you signed up for the army, and I was like, so it's not one of those let me tell you something. I really see other people that have great parent relationships,
Mhm.
and it means the world to me because I'm like, man, like you got something that I've always just
Yeah.
wanted to be close to my mom, and she's like, I don't know what's wrong with her though. Like when I try to like I study psychology, so my
Yeah.
mother is like, anytime I ask her questions, she don't psychoanalyze me. Like, and I told her one day, like, you think that this is about you, and I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying to heal myself to ask you
Yeah.
questions about why you treat me this way, and look at the way you respond. You think it's still about you. So she's a little bit narcissistic.
Yeah. So when did you get uh diagnosed with PTSD? Was it during or after the army?
Definitely after the army, but when I came back from Iraq, I was having bodily responses to noises. Like um Fort Riley is a training base. So in Kansas, they're doing 50 cal training, they doing, you know what I'm saying, all that. So I come back from the army and they like, I'm like just walking down, just a regular old day. Doom, doom. And I'm like, shit, what in the world? I mean,
Yeah,
tears
yeah.
coming down my eyes. And I'm like, and I'm telling myself, like, I am okay. There is nothing wrong. Why are you tripping?
Hey.
And my body is like, no, panic, panic. So that's how I knew that I had PTSD. But before I knew what it was just like,
Yeah.
man, like, what is going on? Like, why do so like right now I have gotten a whole lot better since 17 years ago,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I still struggle with like fireworks or loud sounds, people walking up behind me, and I'm like, like, well, hold on, what you doing? Like, so
Every veteran I know struggles with something.
mhm.
Almost every now they just got out like a couple months ago, and that's different. But eventually it's gonna happen.
I mean,
And
especially if you've been in the military during wartime, because you
yeah,
don't
that's even
necessarily have
worse.
to go to war in
Yeah,
order to have PTSD. That fear of having to go to war will give you PTSD.
yeah,
Or knowing that your people, like if you know somebody that go and pass away, that shit fuck you up too. But
yeah,
for us, we had a lot of attacks. Like we went over there in 2003, September 2003. So it was like really still live in Iraq
yeah,
right then. So there were still a lot of bomb attacks, a lot of we had to dodge like 2 or 3 IUDs on the way. It was just a lot. So yeah, it took me a
yeah,
long time to feel comfortable having a gun.
yeah. Me too. I tell like I try to explain it to people that haven't been in the military. I say, imagine being on a Navy ship, an aircraft carrier. You're in the engine room, and it's loud noises. It's hot. It's over 100 degrees. And whatever your job is, you can't make a mistake.
Right.
If you make a mistake, everybody could die. Just imagine working in that atmosphere 7 days a week until the ship pulls in. That's
That's
very
stressful, but it's the same thing. Like a lot of times, people think like, well, I believe that all Black people have some form of PTSD.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but when you are in a wartime situation in another country, there is no I'm gonna go back home. Like
No.
when you in a street fight, you know what I'm saying? It's a gang
Yeah,
war.
you can go
You
home.
know you got a safe zone. When you somewhere else, there is no safe zone. It's like you got to be on all the time.
Yeah.
You got to be ready all the time to pop off.
Yeah, it's a very stressful environment to be in. A lot and it's hard to explain to somebody that hasn't been in the military. They won't get it. They'll be
No,
like,
not
well,
to the extent
yeah, they'll be
they
like,
won't understand
no.
the seriousness of it because they think, well, you can face you that can happen anywhere. Nah, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
different when
They'll
you
be like,
sign up for it.
it sounds like another job to me. No, no.
Yeah, nah. I mean, it is, but it's not. Like it's a whole different type of thing.
Yeah. So when did you get married? Was it during or afterwards or what?
So after I got out of the army, I moved to Atlanta. I started going to church. I was going to Mace, you know, Mason Bethel. I was going to his church for like
Okay.
6 years. I met my husband, my ex-husband, while I was going there, but at Dave and Buster. So I was just out with one of my homegirls one day, and he was in the line and kind of didn't let it go. And the
Okay.
reason why I say that, like, I'm not trying to be like no boast here. Like, you know how you talk to somebody in a line and then you just talk to them and they're like, well, I'm gonna pay your way in. And then he went off his way, I went off my way, and then he came back to find me on the other side. And I was like, okay.
Okay. Hey, wait a minute. Does he still have the church?
He does have a church. I know that he had stopped his original church.
Uh-huh.
It changed names, then they moved and they shut down eventually, but then somebody gave him a church recently.
Oh, okay. So this is when you got you got to Atlanta when? What year was this?
In 2004.
Oh, see, it was good then. It's not the way it is now. This is a new Atlanta.
Oh, I was in Atlanta when BMF was still around.
Yeah,
It was
exactly.
still Big Meech season
Yeah.
around here.
So it was.
Like what they seeing is like I didn't been around. Like, yeah,
Oh, you seen the change. You seen
it's
everything.
definitely been a lot of change, good
Yeah.
and bad.
Yep.
It's still Atlanta. I like Atlanta for the blackness,
Yeah.
the black culture. That's because in other places that I've lived, it is no place where you feel comfortable being a successful black person, or having any type of money and being black where ain't nobody looking at you like, well, damn, what you did to get on. Here, it's more like it's normal. It's not such a atrocity to see somebody that's black, that's successful. They got a nice car. They may have a nice house.
Yeah.
Most places, if you got a nice house, they looking at you like you sell dope.
There's there's pockets like you got Phoenix, uh Dallas.
See, but Phoenix, I lived in Phoenix. Phoenix is
Yeah.
very choppy as far as the way the culture is. And when I lived
Yeah.
in Phoenix, it were no black people there. You seen a
No,
black
not back
person.
then. No, not
No,
back
wait,
then.
look, when you seen a black person when I lived there, it was like, hey, hey, you. I ain't seen nobody. What's that? Like,
Yeah,
you
it'd be
feel
like
like it's
that.
instant family because it's like one in a million.
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
sure it has probably changed since
Yeah, it's
then. But
changed a lot.
then, woo.
Yeah. So there's pockets of black people in certain spots. But yeah, I feel you. I understand where you're coming from. Atlanta is probably the only place left. DC used to be like that, but DC not
It's
like
not
that
like
no
that
more.
no more.
Oh, DC not like that no more.
I mean, right now Atlanta is really a chocolate city, despite the fact that they're trying to make it more corporate in order to bring more business, which I believe that Atlanta is due for a big boom. I think that it is a very good place for it. However, it just depends on who's in charge and
Yep.
what they do with the boom to the economy. Like the World Series, that's a big thing. Like
Yeah.
y'all, what are y'all gonna do with it now though? And I think the biggest flaw about Atlanta is people want to be in Buckhead so bad or in the city limits, and they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
understand the love that's outside of the city. Like you can move outside of the city and
Yeah.
get so much more than if you're
Yeah.
living in the city. And if you move out, like especially celebrities, you move outside the city, you bring the revenue, you bring, you know what I'm saying, a certain type of energy where you can become a martyr. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
people don't think that far ahead. They're very limited.
Uh, yeah. I just, I stayed there. I lived there for 10 years. I just got tired. I said, man, I
Tired
just,
of what though? Because I mean, like I don't go to the club, so the club scene,
yeah.
like I see it online, but aside from
Yeah. I
being
stopped.
online, I ain't in it.
Yeah. I stopped going to the clubs like 5 years ago. Yeah. I just started slowing down. I was like, man, I started being more focused. And plus, all of the majority of my friends live here
Okay.
in the Charlotte area. So I'm like, man, I'll just go back, you know.
Well, I mean, when you say it like that, that makes it make more sense
Yeah.
because, you know, if you can live somewhere and be comfortable where you have a lot of friends, then
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't have a lot, I didn't have really friends down
mhm.
there. You know, a
I
lot
mean,
of,
but Atlanta is a hard place to really get friends because everybody is looking for a come up and everybody is trying to. If you are around people, you have to wonder: are you around me to be around me? Especially if you're any type of um got any type of money, any type of clout, any type of tie into entertainment. Because it's like, do you want to be my friend? Or do you want to
yeah.
be my friend because you know what I'm saying? I can get you on. And
Yeah.
so my biggest thing about Atlanta to me is that there are not enough. It's so much of people that want to be celebrities that it ruins the opportunity to be friends with people because
Yeah.
you just don't know what do you
Yeah.
want.
I met a lot of that. I ran into a lot of that. And I'm like, when I was down there, I've never met anyone like you. Nobody.
So what do you mean, like me?
Like, just show me something you done. Anything.
Got
I
something
mean,
to show for something.
I hear a lot of talking,
hmm
but I just that's no product, no audience. Just show me anything.
But I've for a long time I didn't have product. But like I said, when I was caught up in Instagram and so all my stuff was on Instagram, I was lacking the ability to build because I was doing it all there and it was live and it was like right now. And so but then a lot of people are scamming. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of
Yeah.
people that but it's people that's not in Atlanta that will and when I say scamming, like they're selling stuff that they don't even really know. They just getting a bundle from somebody that's saying, okay, we can teach people how to do this, and
Oh
then I'm
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
sell you
yeah,
something. And then even people that have products don't really have products. They just, you know
yeah,
what I'm saying, hustling. That's the
yeah.
hard
But
part because you don't know who really know what they're talking about and who
oh, I
really just
know.
blowing smoke.
No,
Because
see,
like a lot of people, like even when you think about, I'm a certified life coach, I'm a sex coach, and I am a relationship coach. Now I be talking about sex, love, relationships, business, strategic moves, and all of that for so long. But now I got the credentials for people that need credentials to say, well, I don't know if she really know. Okay, so here go the credentials to go along with what I'm telling you. Now, since you needed credentials, now what else? Because you know, people will come up with excuses, but a lot of people really don't really know what they're talking about. A lot of people,
yeah.
even when you talk about religious based people, preachers and stuff, they normally just telling you what somebody told them in a new way. They ain't really telling you nothing different. Not really
Yeah.
telling you how to do something, how to use it. How it's almost like, and I don't like to mention names, but there was somebody that was talking about manifesting a relationship, and another something that they did, they didn't talk. They were talking about how they didn't want to marry nobody that worked a 9 to 5. And it was just like, you saying
Oh,
all of these things, but you're not producing anything that shows that you have the results. It's like you made a
okay.
manifesting book, but you didn't even write the shit that was in there. So how are you telling anybody about anything that you haven't? I mean, because when you do, it's when you learn something, you take it in and you do, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But when you learn and do something, experience some things, you can tell somebody something that
yeah,
doesn't sound regurgitated. That don't sound like, well, I'm just telling what somebody told me. No, I've lived it. So let me tell you the truth behind it. And a
yeah,
lot of people don't do that. They just telling you what somebody told them that sound good and they know how to put a spin on it and a price tag.
yeah. And I'd be like, I don't have a problem with people. Just if you're a beginner or you haven't gotten started yet, cool. But just don't lie. Why you gotta? I
Right.
look, and I don't. I'm not approaching anybody. I'm not like aggressively looking for people when I was there. I'm like, people will see me, and some people, hey man, yo, keep doing what you're doing or whatever. It's cool. But every once in a while, I used to go to uh maybe a meetup or an event or something like that. And people were like, just talking, talk. I'd be like, you can't back up all this shit. Yeah, there's no way.
It is very rare that somebody can actually back it up, but
you
it's a
know,
few of us out there. That's why when I was listening to some of your stuff, I was like, man, well, I'm this is gonna be an interesting conversation because I'm like, I got all the tattoos, but I got an education. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, I done been through some hood stuff, but you know what I'm saying? I'm a really good girl. I don't club, I don't do all these things. So
yeah,
I'm kind of like the best of both worlds in a world to where you got a lot of extremists. It's either you super out there in the streets or you're super holy roller and like you're still no good.
yeah. Now, I was mainly talking about the Cardi B types. But
Well, okay, so because I like Cardi B, I think that she
that's
has
extreme.
changed her life 1,000%.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't know a lot about her.
See. So it you can't say like the Cardi B's if you don't know enough about Cardi B to say okay, because if you go from her story is not different from mine. The only difference between her story and my story is that I chose different. Instead of going
Yeah.
to the strip club, which when I was in the army, I almost went and started stripping. In the army, I went to
Really?
the strip. Like yeah, I was like
Why?
me and my homegirl at the time. We put on little bathing suits and we was like, hold on, we're gonna go to this. Like I used to she used to be in Leavenworth and I was
Okay.
in Fort Riley. So when I used
Okay.
to drive there, I used to see this little strip club. I was like, you want to go and try to do the strip club? I mean, it was the funniest shit ever
But
because,
but
but
there's one thing she she did that I don't respect. She bragged about ripping
I,
off dudes. No,
and now with that, I don't agree with
no,
her. Um, and it's no like there you can't even get no excuse on like
no.
because that's just wrong. Just the same way you would want nobody ripping off a woman or you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying using a woman. However, I look at her growth and I see that at least she tried to change. There's some bitches that will never ever they gonna
yeah,
live their whole life trying to chase a
no
bag
doubt. Yeah,
versus creating one.
yeah, no doubt. But
Now, listen, what I tell you, I was almost like I could have one decision away. Just imagine if I wouldn't have went to the army. And maybe I think this is the reason why I am the way I am because if I wouldn't have went to the army, I could have easily been in the club on the pole and
no,
shit in the army. You know what I'm saying? Like
no,
it is.
no.
You say that,
Don't do it.
but I'm just saying,
Yeah, I
like,
know what you're
you
saying.
could
I know
be
what you're saying.
one decision away
Yeah,
from a totally different life. And, like some people, I always thank God that I've never had to use that as a means to survive.
yeah,
But, everybody's story is different.
yeah. I don't think. Yeah, I just don't think.
What?
This is how I look at it. If a woman has to get on the pole, and I know women that strip now. Over the past I don't know 20 years, personally,
Uh-huh.
I'm like, You didn't have to do that. I mean, maybe, and maybe it's because I see something in them they don't see in
Right. No,
themselves.
no, and you know what? I'm the same way. Like, this is my ultimate goal with Speaking Freedom. It's supposed to be a virtual life coaching center, so that's why all of my content is really free, and I just put it out there for people to be able to listen to and grow from. Um, but the goal really is to save the people that are in jacked up situations, and help them change their mindset. But it's no sure way of doing that. You kind of have to cycle through to see, one, some people not ready to change, some people
Yeah.
not mentally capable of changing. When you get stuck
Yep.
into a survival mode
Yeah.
mindset, then it's hard to come out of survival mode, because now, you know what I'm saying, this is what I had to do to survive for so long.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to go from survival mode to, okay, I don't have to, it's like PTSD.
Yeah.
Instead of having to, now I could just relax. Now things come easy, but it's a mindset though.
Yeah. But I just hate to see somebody that I know, go down that route. I'm like, oh man.
Okay, so I had forgot what I was gonna say, and then that's why I kind of veered off. So the goal of Speaking Freedom is to really, I want to be able to go into strip clubs and be able to pull girls literally out of the club. I want to be able to go in and say, are you stripping because you like dance? You used to do ballet or some shit. Now this is the only thing you can do in order to, you feel like this is where you're bottled to. So are you here because you want to be here, or are you here because you need a way out? Because my prayer is to be so financially good to where if a woman is in a club or doing something crazy just because she need money, then let me help you to change your life and take you from needing that to that's the last thing on your mind. And a lot of people, it's hard for a lot of people to go from that. So I agree. I don't like to see women like that, but I do like going to the strip club though. So it's like one of those,
Yeah.
like, I
Yeah.
learned a lot from the strip club. I've gotten, after divorce, going to the strip club helped me get my confidence back, helped me feel assured in my body as a woman, because you got to have a lot of confidence to be a stripper, for real, for real. You got to
Oh
have
yeah.
a lot
You get
of,
balls to go up there.
like,
Woo.
not just balls, not just confidence, but the assurance within yourself
Yeah.
has to be. And now a lot of these women are getting their cosmetic surgeries because they don't have that confidence, for real, and they put it on.
Yeah.
And the bad thing about that is that just because you put it on, it doesn't make you love yourself more, because eventually you're going to realize that they don't like you for you. They like you for the things that you change, because if they didn't like you before, then they don't really like you after. They just,
Yeah.
gravitating for whatever superficial reason. So it's an being in Atlanta is a very interesting place, because it exposes you to a lot more than probably any place else, and it's all right. Well, Vegas is like that. I went to Vegas once and I was
Vegas.
like, this shit is crazy. Well, because they have all the naked, nude, half nude stuff just out, like it's just everywhere. They giving you cards. I was like, oh my God, I would never bring my kids
I
here.
wasn't. I wasn't feeling Vegas. I went to Vegas this year, like what 4 months ago. I wasn't really feeling Vegas.
Maybe it's because of COVID. Like, well, okay, so I did not like Vegas. It was nice to look at, but I was deep at the time, so it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah, that's the best. I went with it's me and my brother. I wasn't really feeling Vegas. I'm like, you know, it's I can understand why people like it there. I can understand,
Definitely.
but
Especially if you like a wild party animal, or if
yeah,
you like I want to say
so
sex craved or something like that.
yeah,
But I want to own a brothel. I want to own a place to where, like, a spiritual type of brothel though, where you can be free to be whoever you are, but if you need the sexual gratification, because I believe that sexuality is a part of humanity. Like, a
yeah,
part of you being human is that you gonna want to fuck something.
yeah,
So if you mix that with the ability to have the spiritual support, the spiritual understanding, then I think that it gives the ability to change a lot, because a lot of people are lost and they go to sex. So if you
Yeah.
kind of can fulfill both desires or both needs, then I think it could change a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah. But I think Vegas is the funny thing about Vegas is I met a lot of people. I wanted to meet people that was from Vegas,
Hmm.
but it seems like majority of people I met, they were like in the
Implants.
surrounding areas, or it's like a weekend thing. And some people say, "Hey, man, we come here like twice a month. This is like our vacation spot." It's like I'm like, "Oh, okay." So um, so how long were you married?
For 5 years.
I mean, so you think your I guess PTSD and had a lot to do with you like getting a divorce?
I believe that no.
No.
Like, no, the reason why I say no, the reason why I got a divorce is because of my husband's like betrayal. Like he would be talking behind my back. Like he would say shit about my PTSD that contributed to us
Other
getting a
people?
divorce. Like, yeah,
Oh
like
no.
we was talking about something, like I think we had got into it or something had happened, and then well, a whole lot of stuff had happened.
Yeah.
And then when the shit hit the fan, I was telling like, well, they told me that you were talking about me, and they were saying you were
Oh
saying da
no,
da da
no.
da da. And then he was like, I did not da 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 da. And then somebody else called me, like he said that you got PTSD. Like he said, what? Like that's the reason why I'm acting like
That's
this. Like so, this nigga's acting like ain't nothing else
yeah.
happened to the where I'm acting. I'll say so. In that aspect, yes, and it made
Betrayal.
me, because I had PTSD. Well, I used to, like, we used to fight a lot. So anytime I
Yeah.
would feel threatened, I'm a fighter. I'm swinging.
Yeah.
And so in that aspect, but in therapy, I was, doing things that like telling her what was going on. So okay, instead of, fighting, then let me just take a step back.
So
But
did he understand your
I don't know. I don't know. Because at one point I think he fit, like there is the narrative, the reality of PTSD, and then the narrative that's projected by others of what PTSD is. And despite our reality, he began to project the negative narratives of PTSD on me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, you acting like this, or as I was getting, it was weird. It had nothing to do with the PTSD though. Like when I
yeah,
started
okay.
going to school, like he wasn't, like, instead of congratulating me, it was like you acting different now. Like, or like, I had benefits. I'm been 100% veteran for a long time, so
Oh,
a lot
that's
of
good.
benefits he's benefiting off of, and I'm like, okay, well, go to school, do this, do that, like so we can make something out of the
Yeah.
situation. And he just wasn't
It
what
was
I needed, and then I
yeah,
started trying to change to make the
yeah.
relationship work, and I became less of me, and I got more depressed. And then I was like, like I was in a sunken place.
Yeah. What happens in your household should stay in your household. That was my parents told me that early, and when when someone tells, "Hey, this is
And
what you were doing,"
it's one thing to talk
hey,
to somebody if you really need help and you're talking to
that's
somebody,
different.
but trying to, and see, it started. Okay, this is where it started. The person that I said that I was gonna be a stripper with, me and her was cool for a very long time, childhood friends. And it started one day, his phone broke, and me and her got into it because she was like, "You be like this is the thing." People like to say, "Well, you got PTSD, and that's why you acting like this." So, for me, what you mean? PTSD ain't got nothing to do with it. They try to blame the PTSD when you're setting a boundary. So
No, 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 no.
that
Not like
happened in the relationship with my homegirl. So I was like, I was telling him, like, I can't believe she tried to play me. Like, what I'm saying ain't valid. It's just PTSD. So he needed his phone fixed, and I went through his phone, and he was on the thing in the Facebook app talking about, yeah, Kaci wrong. She be doing, and I was like, so,
he
but
was
at
doing a
first
video.
he sent her a message like
Oh,
just saying that I was wrong, and that like I be tripping. So at the point, I didn't say nothing then. I was just like, okay, duly noted. You know what I'm saying? This is strike one. That was strike one. Strike two, he was talking to some people about me behind my back again.
Oh
Like,
no.
and so then when I asked him about strike two, he was like, oh, they trying to throw me up under the bus. But if you ain't doing shit, can't nobody throw you up under the bus.
Yeah.
Strike three was when after that, and I was like asking about that. Then my cousin called, like he said you got PTSD, and I was like, for real. And then after that, I was like, I had been doing research the whole time I was on the phone. I was on one phone call for about 5 hours, and I was on the phone like researching how do I get a divorce in Florida and shit. Like it said, 21 days if you file, you get 21 days if it's uncontested, and 70 something days if it's contested. So I called the lawyer. I got her on the phone. I was like, this is I want to get a divorce. This is what happened. And literally that same day, I went back and I was like, look, I want a divorce. It's going to be 21 days if it's uncontested and 70 days if it's contested, but I want a divorce. And he did this whole fake crying thing, like like that guy on the stand the other day,
Oh.
Rittenhouse. He was like
God damn.
ain't no tears though, bro. Like what are you
Oh
doing?
no.
So yeah, after that, we was actually moving from Florida. Like we had sold our house. The day that we sold the house is the day that I got the information strike two. And then strike three came the next day. And by the next day, we were about to sell anyway. So we were signing to sell the house. And I was like, I'm getting a divorce. So we literally the day that we moved from Florida, I was at the divorce lawyer, like, look, I want to get a divorce. And I'm not staying for nothing. And she was
Yeah.
like, he came in and he was getting ready to sign the papers. And he was like, this is why it really, really happened, because I was serious then, but I probably would have felt vulnerable if not for this. He was like, in the place, he was like, well, if something happened to her, who get the kids? Like, if something happened to me, the lawyer was like,
Oh
that's
God.
strange. Like, people don't normally say stuff like that. So be careful. And we were supposed to be going to Kansas to see my mom.
Uh-huh.
And because we was gonna stay with her, we was having another house built. And honey, after he said that, I was like,
Cancel.
I think I'm gonna drop you off in Atlanta. I'm gonna keep on going. And it was crazy because that night we were talking on the phone while we were driving from Florida. And when we got to the storage unit where we was putting our stuff, I was telling his cousin on the phone, like, yeah, well, I told him I was gonna leave. We did it, but we've been talking and maybe. And she was like, girl, look up verbal abuse, look up this. And when I looked it up, it said that you may be vulnerable and be weak enough. And then I was like, when I told her that what he said about if something happened to me, she was like, girl, please don't. That was his cousin. I was like, okay. And I dropped his ass. I
Yeah.
gave him $300 and took all my cards back because at this point, he was kind of like living off of my veteran benefit. So I
Yeah.
took all his cards back. And luckily, we wasn't long enough married long enough to where I would have to pay alimony. But I almost was about to have to pay alimony.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to
Yeah.
get married again.
Yeah.
If I get married again, it's gonna be a miracle.
So what do you think that I guess the dating scene is like in Atlanta?
I
I'll
don't
get,
know. I've
I'll
been
tell you.
celibate for almost 7 years. It's been actually 6 years and about 6 months now.
Yeah.
And I don't entertain nobody. I don't try to talk to nobody because most people, I feel like most guys they see you if you got a fat ass and they like, ooh, I want to fuck. They don't want to get to know you. They trying to get that fat ass. So,
Yeah.
because of that, it makes me shy away. And because I'm trying to be celibate, I can't get close to or start liking somebody
Oh, wait a
because I already
minute.
know I'm gonna.
Wait a minute.
Okay,
Well, why you're celibate? Why?
you want the real answer?
Yeah.
Okay, so um, after my ex husband, I was dating a guy, or I started messing with a guy that I had knew before my ex husband, and he was over, and we made our way to the bedroom, and then my back window got broken into. Right before it got broke, my ex husband had called me like, something happened to my dad. I need to go. And I was like, what? Like, well, he texted me and I didn't respond because I was busy. I was like, I'm gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? Let me do what I need to do, and then I'm gonna text him back because I'll get the kids when I get finished. Window got broke. Then when I decided that I no longer wanted to see the guy that I was seeing at the time, he was like, he wanted me to die and call me hoes and bitches and just foolishness. So those two guys were not the first two guys to act kind of crazy when I didn't want to have sex with them no more or when I wanted to leave them. I had other guys that tried to hem me up, or like I had a guy snatch me up in a club one time, and I only had sex with him like twice when I was like 16, 17, and this was like 4 or 5 years later. So I was like, if I make guys act like this, then I think
Hey,
I need to keep myself
what
to
you
myself for a while
what you
until I
doing to
find
these
somebody
guys?
that I really want to be with.
What you doing to these guys?
I mean, I just don't. If my coochie makes men act crazy, then I need to make sure that I want to be with that man before I
Yeah,
give
yeah,
myself away to
yeah,
that person. Because I'm not about to die because I'm fucking niggas that I don't really
yeah,
want to be with. So
yeah,
that's why I became. That's the real reason why I became celibate.
yeah,
Um, and then after that, it was kind of like a challenge. Like, I like sex. I'm one of those women that when I actually like you, I want to have sex a lot. You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like
Me
I'm
too.
that type of person.
Yeah, me too.
So I gotta find somebody that I want to be intertwined with like that. But after getting divorced and then after those two guys act like that, like I don't really want to have sex with somebody unless I think I'm gonna be with them for a long time. But I'm scared that if I don't, they're gonna try to kill me. I'm not
Yeah,
dying
I think
behind my coochie.
I think there's like I guess there's like a balance. If you, if you, if you, if you know this guy likes you, and if you don't put out at a certain time, there's a good chance you're gonna leave. So it's kind of
Well,
yeah,
I did. I have an episode. I just titled, and I posted it on another page a while back, but it's gonna go up probably sometime in March or April of next year. Where I talk about the reason why all the same women are passed around in the industry is because they're having sex. And so the people that don't want to have sex, that's not trying to put out, that's not looking for a come up, because the ones that's looking for a come up, they're having sex faster.
yeah,
So if you're looking for a come up, then you're going to get wifed quicker, and then the people that's not having sex are going to get overlooked because they're not putting out. When it's a girl right down the street that all I got to do is give her $400 and she gonna $40 if that's the case, you know what I'm saying, and she gonna put out. If I give her 1,000, she gonna turn up with her girl in about 4 5, you know what I'm saying, ain't no telling what she might do.
yeah,
So when you're dealing with that, for me, and then like now, the more educated you are, not just educated, but if you begin to really apply the knowledge and then grow within yourself and start healing some of this, you know what I'm saying, it just, the sex life world will be great. Like when I start having sex again, when I get with somebody, I want to try everything I ain't never tried before. But because I know I want to be wild, I can't be wild with everybody. You got to be
how
like,
you can't,
okay.
you can't,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that changes everything.
yeah,
And then the dating scene. So the dating scene isn't attractive
right,
to me here because everybody is looking for sex mostly. So, but
yeah,
I don't go out. Quarantine was my lifestyle before quarantine. So, like,
yeah. Me too. I wasn't. I was like, I was like this before COVID. I'm like, I wasn't really hanging out with a lot of people anyway. So I'm like,
it works great, like,
yeah,
so
you know,
being celibate is easier because I run from guys. Like I could be at the gas station. It should be a guy that look good, got money. You could tell, he got the outward effects of having
yeah,
something. And I
yeah,
will duck in my car so fast I will jump in my nope, I'm not trying to get you none. So let me go ahead
yeah.
about my business.
Yeah, one thing when I was in Atlanta, I was basically hanging around the same people. It was a older lady. She was older than me. But if you see her, you'd be like, "Oh, she looked like she in the 40s or 50s, but she's up there." you know. And I used to hang out with her and another guy. That's really it. I didn't really hang out with a lot of people.
See, as a mom, when I got divorced, my children were like 3 and 4, or 2 or 3 or whatever. So like, I don't have the opportunity. The other thing about dating is that I don't have the opportunity to just pick up
Yeah,
and just, you know what I'm saying? Like when you have kids, and because sometimes even now, it has felt like my ex-husband would try not to get the kids. Like, just I think he'd be hating. You know what I'm saying? He done got married and everything. Nigga, you
for
still hating.
real.
Like, like, get the kids so I can go get some. You getting some, let me go get some. But it's just like, having kids kind of put because my mother was flagrant with me. She used to leave
Yeah,
me a lot of places, go to the club. She used to come home drunk. You know what I'm saying? I don't do that. Like, I've come home from the club a couple times drunk. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll be right back. Go get me a little drink, come back. But it's very limited because, one, I don't want all type of men around my kids. Then I don't want to abandon them. I'm not dropping them off to go to the club or go on no date. Like, if they not with their daddy, then they with me. So that is a hindrance. Well, being able to have friends if you got small kids can be a hindrance.
yeah. I mean, you have to plan more. You know,
But
I
if they don't have kids,
well, if they don't have kids, they have to understand.
most don't. But
Most
yeah,
don't.
it's not convenient, and because
No,
I
it's
am
not.
not the type that will put my kids off on, and then I live 1,000 miles from my family. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
if I was home, I'm sure I'd be like, "Hey, I'm gonna bring the kids over."
yeah,
Da, da, da,
yeah,
da. But because I'm here, it made me a lot tougher and stronger though, because
yeah,
it made me to structure my life. If nobody was gonna come and save me, how would I survive?
yeah, yeah. So you don't seem bitter about marriage or anything like that.
No, I'm just not gonna jump in.
So well, wait. So you would get married again?
If I met the right guy,
Yeah,
and I would definitely consider it. Like, for a long time, like I want to be in a long-term committed relationship. I just don't know how marriage weighs into that, because sometimes it seems like you could be in a relationship for a long time and not be married and be happy, and then as soon as that damn paper gets signed, it be something like
I
something
think.
in the water.
Yeah, I think this is just me. I can't have a traditional relationship.
So
It's
what
just,
is your relationship preference?
I'm open. I can't. I just can't be like how the traditional relationship, like my parents was. You know,
Monogamous, just
yeah, I can't. I tried it. I just can't be. I don't know, something about that. When I was like that, I felt lonely. I felt
you just
like
wasn't with the right person. Okay, so overall, as a life coach, I believe in polygamy, the poly lifestyle, all variations of it, because you can have different dynamics in
yeah,
being poly. So I believe in poly. I believe, especially for men that gravitate to cheating, I think that cheating is stupid when there's a woman out here that want to fuck bitches with you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
it is a woman that will have sex with other women with you that you don't even have to cheat on. So like, when
yeah,
Offset, for example, when Offset was cheating and he knows that his wife
yeah.
openly talks about being with other women, like, why would you do that? Just go get a
Oh,
woman that she likes
that's
and
kind
then
of
be
weird. That's kind of weird. I don't. That
why
didn't make any. No, that didn't make any sense. Why would he why did
cheating.
he felt the need to lie? I'm like, I don't
I
know.
don't know. It, like, a lot of times I think that it is being used to dealing with people that respond differently. But even more so, I think it has to do with like your parents. Like, because my biggest thing as a parent is I don't want my son to resent black women. You know what I'm saying? Or resent, because a lot of times if you in a dealing with people to where you feel like you gotta lie. Like my ex-husband, I think the reason why he was the way he was is because he grew up in an environment where he had to lie a lot, lie to his grandparents, lie to, you know what I'm saying? And so when you grow up in an environment where you gotta
Yeah.
lie a lot,
Yep.
then it becomes your natural response.
Yeah.
And that's the real root to all evil. So if you
Yeah.
can't be honest or if you're used to not being honest, then even in a situation where you can be honest, you won't know how to be honest.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I used to. I felt. I used to. I used to kind of be like that. I used to lie to women, and I got tired of it. I said, "Man, why don't I just tell the truth and
Right.
just see what happens?"
Like, I mean, because if she really like you, she gonna be whatever you talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, I always say, I'm like, initially, she's not gonna like it, but she might come around, and if she doesn't come around and leave, oh well, I guess she wasn't for you. I guess she wasn't
I
into you.
prefer a person that will tell me the truth and be honest over a person that will lie. Because if you give me the truth, then you give me the opportunity to choose for
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Versus if you're lying to me, then you're putting me in a situation where I feel bamboozled.
yeah, yeah,
And that is like that. But I also like I've never been with another woman. Like when I was a little girl, I was a babysitter had me rubbing her titties and some extra shit. I
yeah,
think that's more common than not nowadays, and it's very
yeah.
weird that that's
Kind of
common.
weird. That's weird, man.
But I've never been with a woman like as a like, oh, I want to just be with a woman. However, I am open. I would rather be in a poly relationship
Yeah,
and have a girlfriend, because if I was ever poly, she would be for me even if she was for my husband. Like we gonna find
yeah,
somebody that I want to be intimate with or
yeah,
could see myself being intimate with in order for her to be able to satisfy you. Like I work in and around and being in Atlanta, the entertainment world a lot. So my mindset is I know that if I date somebody that's an entertainer, the likelihood of somebody throwing some coochie his way is not really like it's like common.
yeah,
So my mindset is that if a bitch want to be with my man, then she gonna have to be doing something for me too. Like what is she?
yeah,
What head at? Because if she thinks she gonna get something that is mine, then she's gonna have to pay a tab or something. You know.
yeah,
So and I'm not even bisexual, but I think that if I was bisexual, I would definitely have a husband and a wife. But if
yeah.
that was the case, then the woman would be more for me because I'm selfish. Like it seemed like it's for him.
Yeah, I
But
found that the guys that have poly relationships with that dynamic where basically everyone is physically interacting with each other,
hmm
those usually pan out. They usually last. But if the opposite is true, if it's like the husband is with her for a short time or her for a short time, that usually doesn't last.
it only works if both women like each other. That's why when it's a
Yeah,
meme that
yeah,
goes around that say find two women that love you and then settle down. No, find two women that like each other
yeah,
that can tolerate you sometimes.
yeah, yeah,
Because two women that barely like each other but they like you, that's gonna be a lot of bumping heads
yeah,
and not in a good way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So how did the when I mean when did you start doing life coaching? How did that come about?
Naturally, I've always been the person that people come to for advice. I used to
Okay.
hate it. Oh my God. I used to be like, damn, like everybody call me, but who do I call when I need some? I don't have nobody to call. So I've been doing this for a very long time. I think it got more prevalent when I was in the military or after I got out and started going to church and I was praying a lot. And then people was like seeing, I guess, the God in me through that.
Okay.
On top of just who I am as a person. And they would ask me advice. So when I had my daughter, I was living in Phoenix. Well, I had my daughter after living in Phoenix. I was working at University of Phoenix after I had my son. So when I got ready to have my daughter, we ended up moving back to Atlanta, and I left University of Phoenix. But I had started school there, so I was in behavioral science and the psychology, area of studying. And I began to wonder, do I want to be a psychologist or do I like a therapist? What is the path to be a therapist? And at that point, I think it was in 2010 when I started speaking freedom radio, and I realized that you could be either a therapist or a life coach. And I was like, okay, so what is the requirements for a therapist? And then what are the requirements for a life coach? And like what are the differences? And they're really the same aside from I can't charge a person's insurance for life coaching at this point. I can't, but then I also, if I am your life coach and you come to me, I can't be subpoenaed and they take my license if I don't honor the subpoena to tell them some private things that you told me. So when I started looking at things like that, it was like, that license is cool if you're money hungry, if you're chasing the check. But if you're really trying to help people, then life coaching just seemed better. Now, throughout that port, and from 2010 to 2013, when I started speaking freedom, I still had got my bachelor's in the applied management with psychology. I started my master's, but because I was getting a divorce, moving, sold a house, building a house, I stopped. And it kind of made me like, okay, so what do I do now? So life coaching was just simpler. So I started just helping people. I was just being naturally me online. And then I started, okay, so what do I want to do next? How do am I going to make this work? And I just started making a plan. I have about 6 notebooks of notes of things that I wanted to do. And I just start tackling each one. And instead of, at this point, instead of going to be a therapist, it's better to be a life coach. I got more control over me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. So how did the book come about? It's my time.
My first book was I was on CQ duty, the 24-hour shift when you are in the military, on rear detachment after being redeployed back to the States. I had to do duty. And when I was on duty, I just started, was like, man, I wanted to write a book. Like, I had been through a lot of stuff. My mom had tried to kill me, all the things that I had seen, the being in Iraq and all of that. So I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna write a book. And I literally started writing this book on duty when I was in the military.
Good Lord.
And at that point, I don't think it was nothing like it is now, of course, because that was in 2004, between January and I got out in May. So then I was doing it, but I wasn't really consistent. And then after I got out, I lived one place in Atlanta. Then I moved somewhere else, and I was in a loft style apartment. It was on Brockett Road down the street from Strokers, and it was the regular downstairs, but the upstairs was like a bedroom, and it had a roof like it was like a loft, like you could look over it. And I wrote my book in 3 months on that balcony, listening to R. Kelly and different things that reminded me of the times from the book that I would be writing. So it was just one day I was just like, man, I've been through a lot. I want to write about it. I never thought that it would be 360 some pages though.
Wow.
Or 312, I'm sorry.
Man. So how no, I mean what's so it's by your experiences and everything that you've been through up until this point, basically?
Well, from birth to 23.
Okay.
Yeah, I wrote this book in 2006. This has been out for quite a long time, but I wrote it, met my ex-husband, got distracted. I was distracted. And after that, and let me not say that. You know how you started getting successful and you start attracting things. Me and my
Oh yeah.
ex-husband really didn't even have sex until we got married. We no sex, no hugging, no kissing, no nothing until we got married. So it wasn't that, but it was trying to entertain that and juggling a budding career. I was doing modeling. I had just started really getting my feet in the ground. People was recognizing me at Mace Church, like, oh, I know you from on like
Yeah.
the social media wave before this wave of social media. So I think that's where I first dropped the ball when it comes to my route to success, because I got somebody wanted to marry me, like, and I was just like, all right, I'm about to get married, and I should have. If it wasn't for my kids, I would regret it.
She's one of these guys out here.
What do you mean? It's not me. I'm innocent.
Hey, you know what? Hey, that's a compliment. Because there's a lot of women out here and no one has ever proposed to them.
I mean, like, see, but when I was in Iraq, I had a guy that I was dating, and he act like he wanted to marry me, and then he just broke up with me out of nowhere. Like, so I've been through a lot. I've had
Yeah.
guys to play me. I remember when I first joined, well, not when I first joined the army. When I first got back and was in Kansas, I had met this guy, back in Dayton at Shields. It's a barbecue place. And like I gave him my number and he was cool. We exchanged, we spent time. And eventually he ended up, I think I had got a credit card. Like I was gonna try to help him. Like who I am, I've always been. I wanted to help him further his business. So I was like, okay, well, I'll look into getting a credit card. And I did it. And he used it and didn't pay the damn bill. And then it was on my credit report. So I ended up having to press charges on him. Like I've had a little like not run-ins to where it would scar me for men forever. Like I love men. I love black men, especially
Yeah.
because I believe they're the only men that can really relate to my trauma, really, honestly, truly.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
not be like sympathetic type of
Fetish.
love. You know what I mean?
Fetish
So
type shit.
right. So um but and then I love men like I always say this when I think about poly or anything like that. I could never be gay because I would cheat and go get some. Like she would be bad because I
Oh
would
yeah.
have a sad dude somewhere
I
that's
know
like.
I know a couple women that's like that.
But I am honest enough with myself to say I could never like. And then I don't want to get so bad with men to where now I'm gonna go with women. Like no, it's still some jerk ass women that will do you worse than a
Yeah.
man. So it's an interesting place to be me.
Yeah. You know, it's I think sometimes we have to go through things to, you know, the I guess become a better person. You know, I think sometimes. You don't think so?
I don't think we have to go through anything to become a better person. I just think that
No.
sometimes the things that we experience help us realize the person that we could be. Because
Oh, yeah.
if you had the right guidance, it's some things that you could learn
Oh yeah, oh
without
yeah,
bumping
yeah,
your
for sure.
head.
For
That
sure, for
you know
sure.
what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
but and I don't like the narrative that it's like a form of Christian denial. It's this thing I call Christian denial. You know, when you go and you become a Christian, if you put Jesus on it, then everything is magically
Oh
perfect, you
no.
know. Like so
No.
it's not like Christian denial where you just, you really have to get some skin in the game and work towards the evolved version of whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Oh, you basically said the same thing. Really. So if people wanted to go if people wanted to reach out to you and get the book, where would they go to?
You can go to speakingfreedom.org, and it is also on edu-freedom.org/shop. That way you can order, you can see all the books. I got merchandise, I have everything there, even the videos. I have a Roku app. However, I do have the videos there so that you can go through and get any free community-based life coaching experience that you need.
Okay. So all links will be found in the show notes. Like the video. Tell me what you think below. Uh, Leave me a review on iTunes. Until next time, we out. Peace.